How about them Cowboys?
Angry Cowboys Fan, are you down to ride? Angry Cowboys Fan, are you down to ride? Drop a like on the video, go ahead and subscribe.
What's going on, Cowboys Nation and Angry Cowboys fans around the world? Y'all know who it is. It's your man, the Angry Cowboys Fan. And Cowboys Nation, right now it's 1:40 in the morning, so your man has to be a little quiet. But I'm going to continue to bring you this classy Cowboys content. But during Micah Parsons' premiere for the Green Bay Packers, Jim Nantz and Tony Romo was in the commentating booth talking about the entire Micah Parsons trade. During the game, Romo and Nantz bring up how Dan Campbell, head coach of the Detroit Lions, thought about the all-pro edge rusher coming to the NFC North. This response was great news for Dallas Cowboys fans. So we're going to take a listen to the 3 clips that I got for y'all, and y'all know what we're going to do. We're going to come back and unpack this raw and uncut. So, Angry Cowboys fans, let's take a listen to the first clip from Tony Romo and Jim Nantz commentary of the Green Bay Packers versus the Detroit Lions Week 1 matchup.
Picks up 14 yards, and you've had firsthand look living in Dallas at what the feeling was about this trade and all those last-minute machinations of what happened behind the scenes. What was your feeling?
Yeah, and I haven't, we talked with Micah exactly what Tracy said, and I think it was a shock to everyone in Dallas and Green Bay. And initially, everyone knows, you can't get rid of a player like this. And believe me, he is a game wrecker. There's not many. The most important guy on the field is the quarterback. The second most important is the guy who affects the quarterback. And he is definitely that guy. So to trade him means there's obviously had to be a lot that went into it. I don't think it's ever as simple as just this or that. But I will tell you, time will tell how this totally plays out on both sides. But I do think there's a chance that both sides could win in the end.
You couldn't be more right, Tony Romo. Both sides could win in the end. But Cowboys Nation, I know I've said that I've wanted to move on from this entire Micah Parsons conversation, and I mean that. I truly do. But I believe this conversation between Jim Nantz and Tony Romo could make Cowboys Nation feel a little bit better when it comes to this trade. But Cowboys Nation, I'm going to keep it a buck with you. I was shocked about the entire trade. It still seems unfathomable for Micah Parsons to be in another uniform, but this is a major move for the Dallas Cowboys to jumpstart something incredible in the near future. I'm willing to sacrifice that in order to get where we want to be for the future. I've said this before, Cowboys Nation, and I'll continue to say it. No one is bigger than the star. Not Dak Prescott, not Jerry or Stephen Jones, and certainly not Micah Parsons. But jumping into the third clip, Tony Romo talks about how he spoke with Dan Campbell about the trade of Kenny Clark. So let's go ahead and take a listen so we can come back and talk about it. Roll that second clip.
I do think it was interesting talking to Dan Campbell about Kenny Clark, because the middle right here, these two big guys inside for Green Bay have really controlled a lot of the time, disrupted over the years Detroit's offense in some ways. And even though they might win, it's just Kenny Clark has been a monster. He has been a great player for a long time. So Dan was like, hey, we're great at tackle. So put their best player out there, put him on our guys. Well, actually, Sewell got beat a little bit on the first time.
But Cowboys Nation, this is something that I've heard from a number of Green Bay Packers fans, that the Dallas Cowboys got a real one in this trade, a true leader, a dog at his position, a man that's all about football with nothing to distract him from the primary goal, from keeping the main thing, a team-oriented player that helps us in places that we were getting so desperate to find help for. The defensive tackle position, more specifically, the one tech. But jumping into the third clip, the way Tony Romo describes Dan Campbell's relief when it comes to the NFC North losing Kenny Clark, it should make Cowboys Nation feel a little bit better about the Lion going to a different pack. So let's go ahead and take a listen to that so we can come back and unpack this Raw and Uncut.
You made a really solid point right before that snap. When we were talking to Dan Campbell, they were so relieved that Clark was leaving the division.
And I'm like, well, Mike is coming. And believe me, he's like, well, Mike is a monster too. It's not like he was saying. But
it felt like they were more relieved that he was gone, Clark, than they were concerned that Parsons was coming to Green Bay.
I felt the same. They didn't say it, but it was implied.
They didn't say it, but it was implied. I don't know about you, Cowboys Nation, but this gave me even more faith in the move that Jerry and Stephen Jones decided to make with Micah Parsons. Though I was angry in the beginning, I'm actually coming around to the decision even more as the days go by, but let's go ahead and discuss it even further. Y'all ready for this Raw and Uncut? Y'all ready? Let's get it. Get ready for the Angry Cowboys fans, Raw and Uncut.
Man, keeping it real. They keep it real. That's real.
Cowboys Nation, I'm going to keep it a buck with y'all. There's no way in hell I wanted to lose Micah Parsons. I wanted Jerry and Stephen Jones to come back to the negotiating table with David Mulugheta and Micah Parsons and straighten this thing out. Stop acting like kids and come back to the table. But they didn't, and Micah Parsons chose the money to go to Green Bay. I can't hate him for doing that, but I don't have to praise him either, Cowboys Nation. He's not a Dallas Cowboy anymore, which means I don't have to be a fan of Micah Parsons. But Micah Parsons isn't the topic of this video, Cowboys Nation. Who is the topic of this video? It's the defensive tackle, Kenny Clark. When we first got the news that we got Kenny Clark, I went on a rant and I actually called Clark mid when I never seen him play a down in the NFL. After I made my trade reaction, I sat down and I thought about it. I sat down and I just contemplated, Cowboys Nation. I went to NFL Pro and I watched snaps from Clark. I watched highlights from Clark on YouTube. I listened to things Packers fans said about him and what players around the league thought about him. With every burst off the line, with every quarterback pressure, every tackle for loss, I began to feel even more happy about the trade, Cowboys Nation. Even more happy that we got something that we needed. It sucks that we had to get rid of something that we wanted, but sometimes you need to do that in order to get ahead in life. But during the game against the Philadelphia Eagles, I wanted to see how our run defense stood up against Saquon Barkley, and I must admit, Cowboys Nation, the interior of that defensive front is looking good with the addition of Kenny Clark. You can sit back and you can watch the game and realize how this move affected our defensive front. Kenny Clark's presence is definitely welcome and appreciated in Cowboys Nation. The Dallas Cowboys finally have a one tech that they can write home about. This man stepped into the rotation during rivalry week and helped hold Saquon Barkley to only 60 yards on the night. For those that remember what Saquon Barkley did to our Dallas Cowboys last year, 60 yards is a breath of fresh air. But this young man was getting off the ball quick. He was eating up those double teams, shedding blocks, and didn't give up on any of the plays that were out on the field. There were a few plays that he was involved in that should have been picked up by the linebackers, but it was him and Oso Digizawa who would eventually get the tackles. There was a play where Hurts hit Goddard on a curl route and Clark assisted in bringing the tight end down. But the ultimate thing I like about Kenny Clark is his selflessness. This is one thing that I've talked about when it comes to the trenches, whether it's on the offensive side of the ball or the defensive side of the ball. I need players down in the trenches that are selfless, that will put it all on the line for the guy's position next to him, that doesn't mind taking up the double teams in order for a player like Marshawn Nealon to leak into the backfield and get a sack. To keep it a buck, Kenny Clark was involved in on that sack as well. But that's another thing that makes me feel good about this trade, Cowboys Nation. You traded away a player that comes off as all about himself, and if the team benefits, then so be it, for a player that's all about the team, and he'll benefit from it by placing a dub in the win column. This isn't a player that worries about the amount of sacks that he can get on the season. This isn't a player that's all about rushing the passer. This is a player that's committed to stopping the run and to stop opposing offenses from marching down the field. But it speaks volumes about Kenny Clark when you have a head coach of a rival team thanking his lucky stars that you were traded out the division. The way Tony Romo was talking about it, it was as if Dan Quinn would much rather face Micah Parsons over Kenny Clark, and that's something that Cowboys fans should be happy about. I understand that eating up double teams and stopping the run isn't as flashy as getting sacks or rushing the passer, but you want to know what's better than getting sacks and rushing the passer? Getting your defense off the damn field in a 3-and-out or a turnover on downs. This is something that I said I wanted to see more from the Dallas Cowboys team this year. I wanted to see more discipline, which they put on full display during Thursday night's game, and I wanted to see more 3-and-outs. I mean, during the first half, not so much, but during the second half, the defense got a few 3-and-outs. I understand that we value our takeaways, we like our fumbles and our interceptions, but I don't want this team to have to prioritize it, and if we don't get one, then we're going to lose the game like it was in 2021 and 2022. I want takeaways to be the insult to injury. I want takeaways to be how we rub their ass kicking in the face of the opponent. Remember during our 3 consecutive 12-5 seasons where we were banking on getting takeaways, and if we didn't get takeaways, we would lose the game? I don't want it to be like that this year, Cowboys Nation. I want this defense to be efficient in sealing the edge. I want this defense to be efficient in stopping the run. I want this defense to be able to get pressure on the quarterback and want this defense to be able to work together and not in cliques. The trade of Micah Parsons for Kenny Clark puts us on the right path to doing just that. But even though we attained a Pro Bowl defensive tackle that can actually start at one tech, that doesn't exclude the fact that this defense, it still needs help, Cowboys Nation. Currently, the Dallas Cowboys continue to struggle at the cornerback position, even with the early return of Trayvon Diggs. I believe that the Dallas Cowboys front office really needs to take into consideration acquiring a cornerback for this year. And hey, I got one in mind, Cowboys Nation. Jerry, Steven, please bring back Stephon Gilmore to the Dallas Cowboys. Bring him back to help Trayvon Diggs and Deron Bland. Could you imagine this defense with Diggs, Bland, and Gillilock all out on the field together with Bland at the slot? That solves that position group and makes our secondary extremely dangerous, Cowboys Nation. Jerry, please don't have the mentality that we're just good enough right now. Have the mentality that we can always get better, and with having a lot of salary cap dollars, you can just hang on to those 2 number 1 picks for the 2026 NFL draft and go get a Super Bowl winning cornerback who's currently sitting at the crib. I'll leave that for a different video, Cowboys Nation. But though I was angry when Micah Parsons got traded to the Green Bay Packers, I can now shake my head in approval because I feel this was the right move for the morale of the locker room. It was the right move for the selflessness of the defensive line. It was the right move to be able to stop the run, and it was the right move in order to purge toxicity out of the organization. So welcome to Dallas, Kenny Clark. I look forward to seeing you in action throughout the rest of the year and more after that. I look forward to you being one of the leaders that this defense truly deserves. That optimistic presence in the locker room that can help guide these young men to be great. That selfless person who can put the team in front of his own needs. But this has been your man, the Angry Cowboys Fan. Cowboys Nation, what did you feel about what Jim Nantz and Tony Romo had to say about Kenny Clark? How do you think the Dallas Cowboys fared in this trade? Y'all know how we do. We always talk about it in the comment section. If you're digging this content and want to help the channel reach its current goal of 20,000 subscribers, drop a like on this video and please consider sharing it with anybody that you know is a Dallas Cowboys fan. And if you are DC for life and can't wait to stomp a mud hole in the New York Football Giants, hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell to be notified whenever I go live, release a video, podcast episode, film breakdowns, or Madden 26 or College Football 26 gameplay. Sometimes you have to win by first losing, Cowboys Nation. Addition by subtraction, and I feel the Dallas Cowboys did just that in this trade. Sure, the excitement of Micah Parsons will be missed, but with a couple more moves and the addition of Kenny Clark, I believe that our Dallas Cowboys will be just fine this year on into the future. But this has been your man, the Angry Cowboys Fan. and I'm out. Dang, Angry Cowboys fan, you done made it through the entire video. But if you want more content, you can definitely go to this video right here. Or if you want the latest episode of the Angry Cowboys Fan podcast, you can go right here. But whatever you do, like, share, and subscribe to the channel, but remain DC for life.